Opening credits. Ava and Carol Detective Agency, The Mystery of Solomon's Ring. Written by Thomas Lockhaven. Edited by Dave Aretha. Narrated by Amy Johnson. Chapter 1. Carb Lover's Paradise.
I have one question, and one question only, Ava said carefully.
She and her best friend Carol sat on the hotel bed with their hands behind their backs, fingers crossed for luck. Out of the corner of her eye, Ava could see Carol biting her lip. "All right, I'm listening." Beth Clark, Ava's mom, raised an eyebrow at her daughter.
"Can we?"
Ava took a dramatic breath.
"Order room service?"
Mrs. Clark leaned back, narrowing her eyes, a smirk pulling at the corner of her mouth. "We have plenty of cereal bars, you know." Carol elbowed her.
"I told you,"
she whispered. Just moments before, Carol had suggested that they just eat the cereal bars, but Ava had hissed, "Real food." Ava groaned, rolling her eyes back like she was dying.
"But Mom, we're in Italy. All we've had is airplane food, and we've been at this hotel for like 3 whole hours. We have to eat spaghetti."
"Where does it say that?" Ava's mom teased.
"Right here, in Dad's guidebook."
Ava got up to grab the guidebook her dad had packed for them. A thick, clunky book entitled Pasta Paradise, a Carb Lover's Guide to the Italian Homeland.
Hey, at least I didn't ask for a pony.
"Or a unicorn," mumbled Carol. Ava's mom chuckled and threw up her arms. "Okay, your dad is currently trekking his way through the Amazon jungle, and he did go to the trouble of getting that book for you. I guess you've got to order room service." The girls whooped triumphantly and gave each other a high five. "Only 1 meal each, no appetizers, and a dessert to split. Understood?"
"You got it, Mrs. Clark,"
Carol said, crossing her heart.
"I'll make sure of it."
"I bet you will," she said back, smiling. "Now, when I'm at my meetings, I need you guys to behave. Ava, don't drive the hotel staff crazy. No crazy adventures. No experiments with the microwave."
"I just wanted to see if it was a quicker way to cook an egg,"
offered Ava apologetically.
"I had no idea they would explode."
"It was epic," smiled Carol.
But, more of a learning moment?"
she murmured when she saw Ava's mother arch her eyebrow. "Lastly," continued Ava's mom, "movies cost money. We don't want a repeat of our stay in New York when you binge-watched every Star Wars movie ever made." Ava smiled. "I gotcha. Mom, your memory is truly impressive." "Carol," Beth continued, "you're in charge of making sure the room service doesn't get out of control."
"Okay, Mrs. Clark, we promise,"
Carol said as she bounced over to the menu on the desk with Ava right behind her.
"Can Dad get my texts in the Amazon?"
Ava called out.
"I want to send him a picture of our first authentic Italian dining experience."
"Yes, when he's back at base camp with the other scientists, he can download your texts. The SIM card that I put in your phone works in over 30 different European countries."
"Impressive,"
said Ava, jutting out her jaw.
"Thank you, Mom. You rock."
Ava's mom, a journalist, had invited her daughter and Carol to join her on her trip to Italy for a journalism conference. When Ava's mom suggested it, Carol's parents thought it was a great idea to teach the kids more about the world. Plus, Ava knew Carol's parents were going to be out of town, and Carol would rather hang out with her best friend than stay with her great-aunt Marge, who smelled like old cheese and turnips. So Mr. and Mrs. Miller bought Carol a ticket, and the three of them flew away across the Atlantic Ocean to Italy to stay in the fanciest and most beautiful hotel Ava had ever seen, the St. Regis in Florence. Ava wasn't sure why, but every time she said the name St. Regis, she heard a heavenly choir belt out, "Ah!" and then a little bell chime. She was pretty sure Carol heard it too, but she was too cool to mention it. Their hotel room was huge, with 2 humongo beds, one for Ava's mom and one for Ava and Carol, with a view of the Arno River right outside their window. "I'll be back in a couple of hours," Ava's mom said, dropping a kiss on each of the girls' heads. "Remember, no big adventures. And I'm looking at you, Ava." Mrs. Clark pointed 2 fingers at her eyes and then one back at Ava.
"Bye, Mom,"
Ava said, waving her away.
"Love you more than chocolate."
Carol looked at Ava, shocked.
"Really?"
"Okay," laughed Ava. "She's a close second." As the hotel room door clicked behind Mrs. Clark, Ava and Carol tackled the menu again.
"Oh my gosh, we should order the pasta primavera, the cheese ravioli, get a margherita pizza, and this, whatever this thing is," said Ava, pointing to the dessert page to something that looked layered with cream and chocolate. "Okay, first off, the word you just destroyed is a margarita pizza. And second off, your mom just said we can't go overboard with the food," Carol explained. "I'm not going to take the fall for your or," Ava drew out, interrupting Carol. "We could order everything on the menu and make a castle out of all of the food and live there forever. Maybe that's what a carb lover's paradise is, like in the guidebook." She snorted. Adults are so weird. "Come on, let's just pick something and call room service to bring it up. Dibs on not having to call them," Carol rushed to say.
Ava thought about arguing about it, but she knew she'd been beaten.
"Rats. Fine," she said, sticking out her tongue to Carol's "Ha!"
and picking up the phone.
"Know what you want?"
They decided on spaghetti with extra meatballs for Ava. Carol wanted something called lasagna casareccia, so Ava had to hand the phone over anyway so Carol could properly pronounce it. Carol said it was easier for people who knew some Spanish to get used to the Italian accent, and they both knew Carol could ace any Spanish quiz. She was pretty much a whiz with languages. They went with the dessert Ava had pointed to, something called tiramisu. A knock came on the door a half hour later. Carol thanked the room service waiter with an emphatic "Grazie." Ava dug in her pocket and fished out a beautiful, shiny quarter. She placed it in the gloved palm of the waiter and winked. He looked from his hand, back to Ava, and then back at his hand, a confused look on his face.
"Oh, yeah, sorry. Grazie," smiled Ava as she waved goodbye and shut the door in his face.
The warm smell of marinara sauce filled the room, and Ava breathed it in like she hadn't eaten all day. Carol set the tray down on the floor where they had laid out towels to make a picnic.
"This looks awesome,"
Ava said, picking up a shiny silver fork and digging in.
"I was so ready,"
Carol agreed. With her mouth full of noodles, Ava picked up the remote.
"Let's watch something. I bet you there's a Disney movie or something on here." "Listening to A Whole New World in Italian would be pretty mind-blowing,"
her friend said, as Ava flicked through the channels. But everything was either a boring adult news channel or a ridiculous little kids show. Nothing was in English anyway. Finally, they settled on dubbed reruns of Mr. Bean and set to work on their dinners. Little by little, the food disappeared. The tiramisu, which it turned out had coffee in it of all things, was devoured, and the girls ended up in a food coma, staring blankly at the screen.
"Hey, Carol,"
said Ava after 10 minutes of sprawling on the floor feeling like a zombie.
"I'm making an executive decision as the appointed leader of adventurous exploration and declaring that casual exercise is necessary."
"What?" Carol asked, stretching and yawning.
"Oh, come on. It took me like 5 minutes to come up with that,"
Ava protested.
"To come up with that entire thing?"
Carol said, incredulous.
"Really?" "Do not sass your appointed leader of adventurous exploration,"
Ava said, mock insulted. She nodded to the yellow light coming from their window.
"The Arno River is right outside. Let us go walk alongside it." "You know we can't go anywhere,"
Carol said, raising an eyebrow.
"Your mom's rule." "And,"
said Carol, looking at the window,
"it's starting to get dark outside." "She said that we're not allowed to go crazy with the adventures. She never actually said that we couldn't leave the hotel."
Carol crossed her arms.
"I don't know, Ava. Your mom's been super nice about this trip. I don't really want to make her mad." "Here, look."
Ava reached onto the bed and grabbed a map from her mom's pile of important stuff. She pointed to a red dot.
"This is us at the St. Regis. Over here," she dragged her finger an inch to the right, "is the Arno River. It's right there, next to our hotel. All we have to do is walk across the road and we'll be there." "That's the Lungarno Amerigo Vespucci Highway,"
Carol pointed out, her long ponytail swaying to the side.
"Highway, not a road." "Carol, you can see it from here."
Ava stood up, dragging Carol to the window. Outside, the city sparkled in the evening. The rooftops of the old buildings pointed to the sky, making their window look more like a painting than a pane of glass.
"See it? It's just a small road with lanes going in each direction. It's totally close, and Mom would never get mad. Besides, we'll be back before you can say ciao." "It does look pretty cool,"
said Carol, thinking. Finally, she flashed Ava a brilliant smile.
"All right, I'm down. Let's go."
Ava let out a cheer.
"Heck yeah, let's do it. Grab the room key, Watson, and we'll be on our way." "How come I'm Watson and you're Sherlock in this scenario?"
Carol asked.
"Because I'm the one who makes the dumb suggestions, and you're the one who makes sure we don't end up getting killed,"
Ava said, shrugging. Carol paused before nodding.
"Yeah, that sounds about right."
The two excitedly shoved on their sneakers over their socks, racing each other in tying them. Carol grabbed her dark purple coat with the pretty flower design on the collar and tossed Ava her jean jacket with rhinestones on the front pockets.
"Don't forget your phone,"
she called.
"Got it,"
Ava said back as she quickly slipped her iPhone into her jacket, thanking her lucky stars her mother and father had been kind enough to give Ava her dad's old phone.
"Do you have the room key?"
"Yep," shouted Carol.
"We're all set. Let's go."
Ava shut the hotel room door, and the girls headed down the hallway. Here they were on an adventure to explore Florence, Italy. As Ava pressed the button for the elevator, she looked up at their reflections on the gleaming ceiling. She imagined them walking out of the St. Regis into the great unknown, crossing the perilous 2-lane highway, and hiking across the treacherous sidewalk path to finally arrive at the ocean-wide Arno River. What obstacles would they meet on the way? A grumpy doorman who refused to let the two girls out of the hotel? Or even her mother marching right through the door, upset that Ava had been a bad influence on Carol? Who knew what lay ahead? Ava smiled to herself. This is going to be so cool.
If you're enjoying Thomas Lockhaven's audiobook content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way to help out the channel.